Hi, I'm Trinidad Aguirre, and I'm here in the Chamber Chala. Thank you for attending our podcast today. And I am here with Michael Scona from the BBB.
Yes,
Right?
sir. Better Business Bureau.
Better Business Bureau. Doesn't get better than that. So.
No, it doesn't.
No, and Michael here, he is a third generation Latino, born and raised in North Texas, and a homeowner in Lancaster, Texas. So those around you should absolutely go look up Michael. He's got two teenage boys, almost driving age, which I can attest to. I have one on the way that's almost driving age. That is scary stuff. And a pit bull named Zeus, and a Boston Terrier named Chloe.
That's right.
Man, quite the family, quite the going on. But when I was going through your bio here, you have a really cool journey. You want to walk me through that? You talked about your journey to entrepreneurship and how you started with your family opening the Mexican restaurant. You want to pick it up from there?
Of course. Well, thank you. My father, growing up, had a job where he was, every 2 years we would move around. He worked for a cellular one company, went from bag phones, pagers, cell phones. And so we followed him along. But in high school, we decided to plant our feet. We planted our feet in Chillicothe, Ohio. And my dad decided out of the blue to open a Mexican restaurant. And in Chillicothe, Ohio, it was having to explain what a taco was. It was kind of crazy. We did our best. I ended up going from playing football and wrestling to being the head chef of Poco Loco in Chillicothe, Ohio. So anybody, shout out to Chillicothe, Ohio. We did that for 4 or 5 years. Unfortunately, just you deal with labor pains and unemployment and unfortunately plate theft. You have a lot of different reasons why a restaurant will struggle. And, after my dad, most successful person I've ever met, I ever know, we had to close the doors. Bankruptcy, lost my college tuition, lost the car's house, and we moved back to Irving, Texas, where my family is, my entire family is, And that it was a humbling experience. And really what it taught me was that the most successful person in the world without a good team can struggle, and a lot of times you can't help as a business outside entities of what's going to happen to your company. But I did tell myself the only one thing I was going to do in any business I was going to be in, any company I created, I was going to treat it like it was my own. I was going to spearhead and do anything I could to not go through that type of predicament again. It's really hard. And so to this day, and anything I've done, that's how I treated it. And the Better Business Bureau is my home now, and it's been my home for years now. But it's a place to where we help companies strive. And we can get into that in a minute. But that's my background character, how would you say, in business.
No, perfect. And then you've done a number of steps before the Better Business Bureau, right?
Yes. So I was a catering director for Culinary International. Food Glorious Food was the largest catering company in North Texas. I worked for a Mexican restaurant as a general manager called Ninfa's, and then J. Pepe's. People on 35 might know that area.
Yep.
And then I opened some bakeries in Arlington, where Lincoln Square is. The bakery's not there anymore. It's now changed into a huge, Boomer Jacks. But so I loved opening restaurants. I loved starting restaurants because I stayed in that industry, the food industry. And then about 7 years ago, I realized I wasn't at my earning potential. And if anybody's out there as a GM in a restaurant working 60 hours a week, they know. They should know. And I'm telling them now, they're not at their earning potential. Okay. I got into sales. So I decided I'm going to start doing sales. And I started working at a company called Seconds and Surplus. And so every day I was meeting builders and I was designing the kitchen and bathroom. And, I was selling doors and cabinets and building out kitchens. And I had no clue what I was doing, but just learning along the way, So I ended up being the top salesperson in Grand Prairie at Seconds and Surplus. And then at that time, I realized, I think my potential could be even higher. And so I applied at the Better Business Bureau, and they happily accepted me. And I've been there ever since. And I'm a district manager there. As a district manager, my job is to qualify companies for accreditation. And then if we can qualify them, I work with them on how to build their business, build their Better Business Bureau profile, help them with branding, their company and move forward from there.
So what is the primary advantages of an unaccredited versus accredited business? I mean,
Sure. No, that's a great question because in the BBB, we're a nonprofit organization. We were established in 1910. So we've been in Dallas for over 100 years now. So I love working for a company. I could say that,
right.
We've been around maybe a little longer than you. So but we have a brand to protect ourselves. But we can publish on all companies, whether they're accredited or not. And all has to do with the First Amendment. And so, but companies can have a business profile, claim their business profile, have an established rating, and not be accredited. The companies that choose to go through the accreditation route, I will tell you this, it is more work. It definitely is more work. But what it shows, it reaffirms that company strives for excellence in all areas of their business. It's about truth in advertising. We have an advertising department within through the BBB, which is ad review. And they're really, the ad review department we have here in North Texas rated #1 in the country. They're amazing. But they look for truth in advertising. That's how the BBB was established, to protect the community from scams, frauds, and deceptive business practices, right? So let's say you're a company, you say, I'm #1 in Texas. Well, prove it, right? If I'm made in America, prove it. We donate 5% of our funds to charitable organizations. Okay, prove it, right? If you notice, you can go to any website you want, business website, and you will never on any website, I promise you this, and if I'm wrong, community tell me, but you'll never see a negative review on somebody's website.
That's right. Yep.
Because a website is to promote that company, so you're seeing the best light of them. What the BBB does is we're a non-biased third-party source, right? Either affirming or not affirming this company. And as with accreditation, you're at that point tying yourself with a brand that's been around 100 years. BBB is the most trusted source for business information online because we are a curated directory, right? We verify information. If you want to be, let's say you're a plumber, for instance, and you want to be accredited, well, you have to provide a master plumbing license if you're the owner of that plumbing company. You can have a journeyman license, yes, but you can't own a plumbing company as being a journeyman. So those are the type of things a consumer can turn to the BBB if they're looking for a trusted company and they can see, again, reliable information that is current and up to date on that business. In regards to the business background or reliability, right? How do they treat their customers? That's so important. Google's great. Love Google. We're the biggest fan of Google. And why I bring up Google is because a lot of companies, they feel they set up a Google My Business page and they set up a Google website. Those things are all free. But, a lot of times they don't realize they open themselves up to an individual writing a negative review about them that's completely false. It might be a competitor. It might be just mistaken identity, right? But it's an act of Congress sometimes to get those Google reviews removed. Have you ever seen a company that you thought, wow, they just started their business. I know they've been in business 3 months, but how did they get 300 reviews? Right?
Sure, often all the time.
Yep. So the BBB also has a platform which is the most trusted source for review information as well, but a platform where companies can ask and receive reviews. And these reviews are verified by human beings. The review is first sent to the business. We allow them to accept the review or deny it in regards to, yes, this is a client of ours, right? And then it comes to complaints too, and we can probably, that might be a question you might have going forward, but we could talk about that as well.
Yeah. So, basically, yeah, what you're stating is that it's a review aggregator, right? So you're gaining. Well, let me ask you this: is the Better Business Bureau asking for the reviews, or is it incumbent upon the company to ask for the review?
Yes. So it is incumbent on the company. They can ask for the review, or of course, as BBB.org, a consumer can turn to the BBB and file a review or file a dispute or complaint. And those are actually two different separate departments. A review just has to be an interaction with the company. A complaint has to be, you've actually done business with that person.
Right. So obviously, very few companies want negative reviews on the BBB.
Of course. So. Well, yes, of course. And, you dive down a crazy rabbit hole on that. You have to understand that we live in a world where even the best company in the world could receive a complaint. And, just recently I talked to a company that they actually happened to receive a complaint. Something fell through the cracks. They went and they resolved it completely. The person that filed the complaint responded back saying, "Thank you so much. This has been completely taken care of. Please close my case." The company now, they have that on there on the BBB as a badge of honor, because we all know it and we have to take it serious.
Sure.
Every company in the world can receive a complaint, but it's not about the complaint. It's about how you respond.
Correct.
It's how you take care of it, right? And so reviews can also be 5-star reviews as well, and that's really what a business wants. So a lot of times what I do as a district manager is I have to train up my companies on how to ask for reviews. Most companies, they just think it's organic.
Mm-hmm.
They leave a review, or if they don't leave a review. No, companies, 85% of consumers look at online reviews as a personal recommendation. Mm-hmm. A lot of companies can charge a premium, 30% more for their services because of their reviews. Reviews are extremely, very important. So how do you coach somebody to ask for reviews? The BBB has a big platform on how to do that. We have a review solutions company that we partnered with, where a company that is accredited, they can download an app. All they have to do in this app is put in the customer's name and phone number, click send, and their client instantly gets a text message saying, "Thank you for choosing this company. Please leave a review." And our platform doesn't require registration or a password. We don't have to have a Gmail. Mm-hmm. It's not like Yelp, and I can get into Yelp later too. That review, again, is still verified by a human being. We verify to make sure that it's not coming from the same IP address. Right. It's another thing Google should look into that. And then once the business owner verifies the review, then it's published online.
What's the most common form nowadays? Because obviously, we hear, even in our own company, we send out emails or we ask for testimonials, and it's usually radio silence. So what's the most common tactic, if you will, to solicit for reviews for customers? Because we always hear that more people are likely to complain than to praise.
Right, of course. I learned this a long time ago. I go like at a scale 1 to 10, right? 1 to 7 being detractors. That's mostly detractors are easy to find. Then you have that 8, which is neutral. Happy, not happy, doesn't matter. 9 to 10 are promoters. Mm-hmm. Well, how do you find that 9 to 10 promoter to leave you a review? You can't ask for it a week later in an email and just hope that they do it. You have to make it easy on them. You have to incentivize them. More importantly, what I do, and that's why I like this review solutions company with the app on your phone. Let's say you just interacted with the client and you ask them, "Are you happy with your services? Would you mind leaving us a review? It would really help our business." You send them that text right then and there while you're in front of them. You see that they got it. They know that you got it. So they're more inclined to leave that review.
Yeah.
A lot of companies incentivize asking for reviews through gift cards, through gift certificates. I mean, they try so hard to leave those reviews. But I always find that while you're in front of that client and that client's satisfied with that service, whatever it is, they can leave a review. And if you don't mind, I'd like to get back real quick just to this accreditation, because that's so important to me. I mean, accreditation is how we recognize a company as a trusted, competent leader in their industry and local community. Accreditation typically is by invitation only, and it's granted to those companies that have demonstrated sound business practices. Accredited companies have to prove that they've been in business at least 6 months. They have to have a physical presence here. This is a shared office, which is, I love shared offices. But you could be somebody that lives in Tallahassee, Florida, and you say that, "No, I'm a local company in Texas." No, you have a virtual office, a shared office.
Sure.
It doesn't mean you're physically located here. A lot of times, consumers, if a consumer has an issue with any business, right, and they decide they want to take it public, they want to file a suit or something, and I know I'm going off a different path. Yeah. Do they have an address? You can't do anything unless you know that company's address, right? So you have to have a physical presence here. And now since COVID, a lot has changed. BBB changed the practices. You can have a home office now. Before, we would publish that address, whatever the address is. Now we don't publish. Someone's working out of their home, which I highly recommend. I work from home, We don't publish their street address. We just publish the city and state that they're located in. But we verify that they're local, 6 years in businesses. If they're in an industry that requires a license, we need verification of that licensing. And we also look at, too, government ethical violations of that business owner. I don't know if you've seen this, but how many times have you seen a company go out of business, and then the next day you realize they just changed their business name. They just started going again, right?
Absolutely.
And COVID changed a lot, of course, with essential companies, but we're in an industry right now that there's sharks in the water. Anytime there's a need or demand for anything, you're going to see a deceptive business come in. They're going to cookie cutter off somebody else that's doing it right. They're going to steal those photos, claim it as their own. They're going to, and they're smart. They're going to do whatever they can to be deceptive and not be transparent, right?
Mhm.
And then all they do is just like close their business and open up another one. So those type of practices we don't allow. We don't qualify those type of companies. Really, there's five in North Texas alone. There's only 5,000 accredited businesses. Less than 1% of the market is accredited.
Wow.
Mhm.
Now, how long does it take for a company to be accredited?
The verification process will take 2 to 3 weeks once you apply for accreditation,
Mhm.
and it's an annual accreditation. So every year we review. You have to have to maintain your accreditation. This is important. Is truth in advertising. You want to we review the company's website again for any type of claims or guarantees that might bear on the decision of the consumer to buy. On the website, there needs to be disclaimers and privacy policies. A lot of times you see a website and you see the cookies pop up and they want your information. How many times have you given that website that information?
Correct.
Right? And I'll go into why accreditation is important if you're asking for information. But every year we do an annual review on that business for them to maintain their accreditation.
Is there a cost to that again?
There is a fee. So we're a nonprofit organization, right? The companies that are accredited, we want companies to link arms as accredited businesses, network with each other, but raise the ethical standard of business. Encourage and coach other companies to have and maintain that accreditation. It's only peace of mind for the consumer. That's what it is. So yes, there is a fee as a nonprofit. It helps support what we do to protect the community, from there. And you see us on news reports,
Mhm.
television reports, even Telemundo. We've done numerous cases on recent COVID scams. But every company that earns accreditation, they do have a fee, and it's based on a sizing scale.
Sure.
We're very fair. It's based on the employee count of that company.
Mm-hmm. So when you look at it, and to your point, it's shocking to hear that 99% of the businesses are not accredited, right?
Right.
And yeah, to your point, Google My Business, I've got my Google reviews. You mentioned Yelp. There's all these, third-party review sites, TripAdvisor, all the things.
Mm-hmm.
So, what are the advantages, to becoming accredited? Because obviously it's a badge of honor.
Right.
No doubt. But, if it's going to cost me money, then what's, really the advantage?
Of course. Well, companies can look at it in different ways. There's so many different ways on why a company would be accredited. The Dallas Mavericks, the Dallas Cowboys,
Mm-hmm.
they're Southwest Airlines, Neiman Marcus, one of our oldest, over 100 years accredited. They're accredited because of the civic duty of it. They want to help the community. They want businesses to strive. And if we're in a market where it's just 100% deceptive, consumers are not going to buy. They don't know who to trust. So that's one value on a civic value. The other value is it doesn't really cost, it pays. Because the BBB, because we are a curated directory, we're like 98 in Google Analytics. We rank extremely high in web page authority. Most often, if I Googled your company name and you were accredited, your Better Business Bureau profile is going to populate at the top page of that Google search. So think about this. If a consumer is wanting to do their due diligence and validate you, the
Mhm.
first thing they're going to see is that you're an accredited business with the BBB, right?
True.
So and affiliations, are very important, especially with strong organizations, right? You want to show transparency. You want to show communication. How does the business act with their customers? What is their rating? What type of reviews do they have? And so what we do is we link the BBB's business profile that a company gets to claim and modify, add photos, videos, just key information to their consumer. We link it to the company's website. So you see, if you're on a website and you see the BBB dynamic seal, it's an interactive dynamic seal. It's a verified backpage link. So it's another thing, take into consideration, Google loves site citations that match information
Mm-hmm.
from what's being published on their Google My Business address, right? You want to populate higher on a Google search, add additional site citations. You want Google to recognize that website as a good website, add additional back page links that verify that website's information, right? So we are a non-biased third party. You add the BBB accredited seal. And by the way, BBB accredited seal is more recognized than the Norton seal. It's a natural trust certificate. 9 out of 10 consumers recognize the BBB as a sign of good business. It's hard to mention BBB Blue Torch and somebody not know, well, isn't that a place where you can look for information on a company? Yeah, of course. You look at, if you want to sell a car, what do? You want to look at the value of a car, Kelley Blue Book, right?
Mm-hmm.
You want to see what the history of the car, Carfax. You want to look up a business, you want to know the history of the business, where do you go? Better Business Bureau, right? And why not, when someone's vetting you, give them that affirmation to show, look, they've already been evaluated and reviewed by a third party, the BBB. So if BBB trusts them, why would I not trust them?
Do you think when it comes to, bidding on different government contracts or even private contracts, do you see a greater success rate with that BBB stamp of seal?
Yes. I love companies that do their due diligence on their own separate subs, or Parkland requires accreditation, okay, to be a contractor for Parkland. There's many businesses that, there's certain banks, there's certain loan companies, and I can get into this, that require, if for you to apply for a loan, Capital One Business. If you want a business loan from Capital One, you require BBB accreditation.
Is that just like, how do people understand that? Like, so do we think, for example, the education of that alone?
I know it's crazy. I mean, I wish I had 100 of me that I could educate and train these companies, these small businesses to large businesses, and realize, how many times you got a Visa or MasterCard letter in the mail? Did you not see the BBB seal on there?
Right.
It's because it gives that consumer that peace of mind. It could go from a business owner of one employee to over 100,000 employees.
Sure.
We have accreditation on companies that do national accreditation, where every location that the insurance company has is accredited in that market. Not only for SEO tactics, aggregate tracking, Google Map searches. Again, I mean, so if you're tying yourself with a curated directory, you want verified information about your company online, right? And so no better source than the BBB, but it ties into so many other things on even from like a 1 to 2 mom and pop company to a company that's been around 100 years, that has over 100,000 employees.
Does the BBB offer workshops or educational seminars? And
Yes.
If so, where do folks find out about these things?
All the services you can find are at bbb.org. So almost every day we're populating new information for either a consumer or a business. Once a month we have a Google My Business, or Grow with Google, to where a representative of Google, we have it's free, whether you're accredited or not. It's a free seminar, virtual, right?
Sure.
Last one was how to create a YouTube channel and grow your business. The one before that was how to create better SEO through your Google My Business page for free. And Google is partnered with the BBB to help companies grow in that matter too. But then that's all. There's so many amazing resources that can be found just through bbb.org.
It sounds like it's almost you're missing out if you're a small business and you're not taking advantage of all these great resources that you're offering.
Yes. A lot of times if somebody, let's say, works with their hands, they're not going to be a company that works with a computer, vice versa. A lot of times a business, you have to educate them on, this is a part of your business. You have to have branding. You have to have marketing. You have to have an online presence. The worst thing in the world is, what if I recommended you to a tailor, like a really awesome tailor is going to do my suit. And then in the back of your head, you're like, that sounds great. A week later, you realize, I need my suit tailored. You think, okay, what was that company name? And you think you found that company name online, but you end up finding somebody else. It wasn't who I recommended, because the company that I recommended to you had zero online presence.
Right.
protect your business. I mean, protect your clients. If they want to find you, let them find you. You know, and again, so with that being said, I mean, a lot of companies again do the accreditation for many different reasons, but primarily it's if we're not going to jump ship, you know,
Sure.
on a client. You know, we're not going to be here one day, gone tomorrow. You know, we're not going to be fly down or drive down type of company. We want to, you know, truth in advertising is important, but advertising, honestly, you know, every interaction you have with your clients, you know, you want it to be where above board. You know, you want to do the best you can for your client. So it's again, it's a proof factor, if you could say. You know, it helps reaffirm what your mission statement or what your vision is as a business.
What's the biggest constraint a company gives you? Like why I am not doing business with the BBB or why going to BBB?
Sure. Well, a lot of times it's they don't want to be transparent. They're worried that if the more transparent they are, the more that they could be attacked. You know, the more that their reputation can be ruined. And then what you do is you have to explain to that business where you're going to stay at the level that you always are going to be at. If you're wanting growth, you know, if you want, any company that has an employee, that's a family. That's an additional family that they are managing and taking care of, you know. And I look at it the same way. So if you have your company of 5 employees, you have 5 families that you're having to take care of, you know, and you want to make sure there's a growth. You don't want to wait for the phone to ring. You know, you want to make sure there's a growth. And with that, you do have to spend money sometimes as a business. I could give you a $5 Wix site. I can give you a Google My Business account right now, tomorrow, all be free. But doesn't make it different than the same other person that just got a $5 Wix site and got a Google My Business account, you know. You want to elevate yourself from the cookie cutters, from the ones that won't. And of course, there sometimes it is a pinch, but as a marketing expense, accreditation is 100% tax deductible, you know, as a necessary ordinary business expense. A lot of guys, they'll put $1,000 on the tire for one tire when accreditation is half that, you know?
Right. So it's almost advantage. So it's these basic marketing tactics, right? Because you're talking about brand awareness. You're talking about being found on Google, owning a website. You know, sometimes it's a lot for an entrepreneur because, as you know, they wear a lot of different hats. You know,
Yes.
They're the CEO, CFO, everything. So essentially, the BBB will help them or help guide them or provide them a roadmap or resources so that they can build out these type of marketing activities so that they can be successful.
Yes. So what we do is every month, again, we have our seminars that we provide. With accreditation, with the full business profile,
Right.
You get to claim your business profile, as I mentioned, adding in products and services, hours of operations, form of payment, service areas that you're serviced in, if it's national or if it's local, just key information to the consumer. And again, if you looked at web hosting fees nowadays for a legitimate website, sometimes it's $5,000 to $10,000, and you might not always guarantee to be ranked at that top search result. So, and then you leverage the BBB seal of integrity. So, when it talks about branding, your business card, your employee uniforms, your flyers, anything with your company name on it, leverage that BBB seal next to it. It's great brand recognition. So,
Correct.
Conversion rate too. If you talk to anyone that understands like web development and SEO, they always talk about conversion rate. Okay, if we get them to our site, how do we keep them? How can we collect their information? So with Google Analytics, that's another thing. With these training seminars, we provide these analytics to these accredited companies. We can let them know how many visitors they had on that website that month, how many times a consumer clicked onto the BBB profile and then clicked through to the website, or how many times they're on the website and they click through the BBB profile. So you can start watching the conversion rate of how many visitors you have on the site, then how many clients did you have that month.
Right.
You know, and a lot of times adding that seal will help a company double their clientele even though they had the same traffic to their website.
Right. Yeah, because then you're talking about organic versus paid traffic, and then it's that conversion rate because of the BBB seal really add 5-10 basis points, which could translate to X amount of customers, right?
Yes.
So
Actually,
what's the biggest challenge or let's say, what's some of the funnest or best experiences you've had with BBB and like really seeing businesses really grow?
Well, we have a program called Get a Quote, And this get a quote option is free to anyone visiting bbb.org. So I've had businesses call me from they lived in an apartment and from now in a 2-story home doing $3 million a year because of the leads that are generated to their business through that get a quote option.
Wow.
Yeah, I had a contractor, and I'm giving shout outs, GP Roofing and Remodeling, Eric Estrada. He called me. He's like, Michael, you won't believe this. In the last 2 months, he did $280,000 in revenue as a contractor through the Better Business Bureau.
Wow.
Yeah. And he goes, and if it wasn't even that much, he goes, I wouldn't even mind. But when I show up to a door normally I'm always having to argue value. Okay, as a business, you don't argue your value. What you do is show limited perception of risk. Can I trust you? Right? And now, before, when he first started year one, and his wife was having to wait tables, and he was worried about how he was going to get his daughter to college, he had to sell out of desperation. He took jobs that he probably didn't want to take, sold less than what his value was worth, and now he's not selling out of desperation. He's selling out of premium. He knows what his worth is. He knows quality is. And when a consumer is reaching out to the BBB, they know that they're getting an accredited business company that stands behind their promises and guarantees. And if not, no, they wouldn't be accredited, right? So I saw that. But the other end too, okay, is our dispute resolution department. Since COVID, our disputes filed against companies went up 200%. A lot of it was because, shipping delays, receiving materials. Do you know, as a business, let's say you're running a good ethical business, and then, yes, of course, a shipment didn't come in, it got lost, or there wasn't enough goods to make that product, right? Whatever the story is. The consumer's so upset that they just don't take your phone call. They don't email you anymore. They don't want to deal with you. Well, the BBB steps in, and if you're accredited or not, and we're mediators. We mediate in between. Right? So the consumer files a dispute. We mediate. We let the client know what the dispute is. They get to respond. We send that response to the client. We're mediating now, right? We even, for accredited companies, provide legal arbitration. And things get that's less than 1% of our business, but we do provide a legal arbitrator if there's no easy resolution. Okay? Companies love that mediation process of it because we help become the middle guy, right? But once I saw this company, it was this lady filed a complaint on a solar company. Okay, her late husband paid in full for a complete solar install in her home. The contract was in the husband's name. Mm-hmm. Well, unfortunately, her husband passed away. The solar company said, "Well, the contract was with your husband, not you," and they did not install the solar panels. This was $45,000, right? The woman files a complaint through the Better Business Bureau. We reach out to the business. Mm-hmm. Long story short, 4 weeks later, there was a check in the mail. She was paid back in full because they realized the solar company did not want that type of publicity
Sure.
on the first page of Google.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, how much better is that? Who do you turn to, right? Not everyone can afford a lawyer, you know, and those kind of matters. So it just makes me, I see it every day, thousands of it every day. You can go to our own page, go to BBB's Google reviews, and you'll see some on me. There's a lot about me. My clients love me. I in turn ask for reviews too. We all should, right? Yeah. But you can actually read some of these. You can actually go in and read some of how a business did not care to respond to that client until the BBB got involved. And we don't charge a dime for these consumers. We want an ethical business place, where the business and the consumer trust each other.
Sure.
Right? Now, businesses need to know everything's fair because not every customer is a good customer, in turn. Absolutely. Businesses have, in turn, their risk, they put their own self at risk when doing business with the consumer too. And so it goes both ways.
Is there any particular industry that you see more as an accreditation than others?
Well, that's a great question because Texas is crazy, right? We have no regulation for anything. I mean, yes, you need a license to put flowers in a vase, right?
Right.
But you don't need license to repair $1 million boiler or put a roof on a house. Or, you don't need a license to do foundation work. I mean, I could go on what you don't need a license for. So what's that do? It creates a wild, wild west where anybody and everyone can say that they can do it, right? A lot of companies don't even have a sole proprietor or an LLC so that they can pull a permit with the city. So number one industry in our directory is roofing. It's by far. There's almost one roofer for every house in North Texas.
Right.
And because anybody can say they're a roofer. You could tomorrow, walk by a house and see it's damaged, knock on the door and say, Trinidad with Trinidad Roofing, nice to meet you. Can I do your roof? They don't, but would they trust you? A lot of times people don't do their due diligence. You know that, right? I mean,
Correct.
A lot of people don't spend the extra 5 to 10 minutes to vet a company.
Yeah.
And they should. And then after they lose, they realize, well, maybe next time we need to do a little more due diligence, right? So roofing's number one. E-commerce websites are number two. Selling anything online is scary, right? You see, after COVID, you see so many companies pop up with these Shopify websites.
Right.
Shopify makes it so easy for consumers to lose their money.
It's a fact.
It is. So nowadays, I don't know. Are you a homeowner as well?
I am.
Ask. Okay. Where do you live?
I'm in Capel.
Capel. Okay. Did you about 2 months ago? I got the letter in the mail. What my property taxes.
Of course.
Did you freak out? I freaked out.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So property tax consultants was number 3, and I'm actually filed. You were supposed to file by the 15th, but I already filed and I'm working with an accredited company to lower it, and it's going to get lower. But people don't realize you get that letter. And it's twice as much as what it was last year. You don't have, there's things you could do to protect yourself, right?
Right.
And a different area. So there's lawyers or top plumbers, HVAC companies. When it starts getting hot, you get the HVAC. And then when the freeze happened last February, guess what threw through the roof? Solar.
Yeah.
Everyone thought solar's going to save me. Well, trust me, no, it doesn't. Because you actually have to have, at least a $10,000 solar battery, probably multiple, to have your house running. Solar is given back to what do you call it?
The grid.
Yeah, the grid. Thank you. Yeah, it's sold back to the grid. You don't get to keep that power.
Right. Right.
You're you're producing it for the grid, which Texas needs it. But so solar was huge on that, and I could always get into that type of industry as well in a different conversation.
What do you think? Which industry would benefit the most, like from being accredited? So, like you mentioned, some of the top, but some of the least accredited industries. I said if these companies from these respective industries would benefit the most, or consumers should pay attention.
Well,
or be asking the hard questions, right?
During COVID, it was, believe it or not, dog breeders.
Oh,
yeah. I mean, everybody wanted a puppy in their home.
Yeah.
Being accredited dog breeder would highly benefit that company. One, we weeded out thousands of them that just were not legitimate, and you need a license to be a breeder too. So anything to do with outdoors, okay, outdoor landscaping, irrigation, remodeling, pool builders, patio decks, pergolas. That's where the market's going. People want to spend more time outdoors.
Mm-hmm.
Before you, let's say you owned a small, medium-sized pergola company, outdoor landscaping, but you just weren't getting your name or brand out there. Well, through the BBB, consumers are turning to the BBB because they want to find a contractor they can trust.
Right.
So they're visible in the accredited only search category, which is categories we provide. You want accredited or accredited, non-accredited. Most people turn in the BBB, they're not window shopping. They're prepared to buy. So it's great on that aspect as well.
That's interesting because, for example, I mean, there's so many consulting services is where I go to. Mm-hmm. And, whether you're a local bank or a financial advisor, things of that nature, I never occurred to me, are these guys accredited that I'm talking to?
Right. Oh, just the other day, I had a company that tried to apply for accreditation, and I started diving into, it was web development and SEO. Well, he technically was YouTube certified. He learned his skills watching YouTube, and he lived in his mom's basement. Right. And I said, well, unfortunately, at this point, we can't qualify you. But that's when, at that time, companies didn't know how to when there's a demand, you're going to see a big push of companies to try to get into that market.
Sure.
But let's say you're a company that did web development and SEO and you've been doing it for years and you have an excellent reputation. You deserve to be highlighted. You deserve to be put above these companies that just started yesterday being trained by YouTube.
Right.
You know, and same thing with financial institutions or nowadays it's real estate development. You know, you could be a real estate investor, not have a real estate license. You could be a broker. You could buy homes and flip homes every day. You don't have to. It's not required to have a license. I dive into so many other industries that don't require licensing.
Yeah.
So, you know, how many times nowadays you see somebody trying to offer to buy you a home, and a lot of times, and we get into home buying, but when someone's trying to sell their home in this market, it's probably because they're back on their taxes. Something happened, you know, that they're looking to a home buyer to buy.
Right.
And that's nervous. That's very nervous for that homeowner dealing with whatever the situation is.
Sure.
They need to know that they can trust and get the maximum value out of that home. I'm not going to just trust the yard sign I saw at a Whataburger.
Right.
You know, I'm going to you should vet, you know, work with an accredited company.
Man, I got to tell you, I feel like education's the key for the average consumer.
Yes, it is.
I mean, and I know we probably covered this before, but I'm just going to reiterate it because I think it's such a key point. I know there's workshops the BBB does, but how does the BBB advertise? Get the word out. Like, for example, your YouTube or hitting the younger entrepreneurs that are out there, because folks want to be that are trustworthy. They aren't necessarily the sharks out there in the water, but they just want to earn an honest living. You know, what are some of the best practices that they need to be doing today?
As a consumer?
Well,
as a business?
As a business.
As the best practices as a business, again, is grow with your online reviews, right? As we mentioned before.
Right.
That's a bet.
Get your first customer.
Get your first customer, your first dollar bill.
First dollar bill.
They need to be online promoting you.
Right.
Right. A lot of nowadays, you know, Nextdoor, right? You have a Nextdoor app. Well, a lot of businesses don't realize that they live in that neighborhood. They could file. They don't have to pay to be on Nextdoor. They can create an account as a homeowner and then promote themselves as a legitimate business on Nextdoor. You know.
Sure.
Friends and family. That's when you start a company, you always look for friends and family, right? And how to network and engage that way.
Yeah.
But of course, the BBB, in regards to promoting accreditation to companies, we can always strive to be better. You know, we just recently, every year we do an event. It's a student video contest. We any high school in North Texas to submit a video of why they feel it was important for a business to be accredited. And some of the videos were like, BBB saved my dog, or, you know, some was a family that, you know, the wife was pregnant and they were trying to find their first home. Didn't know. Buying your first home is stressful. You know who needs the BBB? A lot of times, I know it's not really, and I say this, but normally it's the people out of college, right? And they're getting into their new home. And they're now needing HVAC work. Now they're needing garbage disposal. Now they're needing someone to maintain their grass and yard. That is the time, you know, where and that is one of our strongest categories, age between 24 to 28 is when we look at our demographics, to turn to the BBB. You know, they need to know because they don't know. They've never needed those services in the past.
Correct.
You know, so you have to find a way to target that market, that demographic. Now, someone in their 60s that's refinancing their house, or, you know, has that's developed an income and they become a savvy buyer, they've got burned, and not, of course, they're BBB loyal. They'll tell you that. You know, the bigger the contract, the more risk involved. Trust me, they're going to require accreditation. But when you're like I say, when you're going into getting your first credit card, you know, when you're getting your first loan, you're going to a bank to get a checking account. You know, I always say let's start incorporating BBB. You know, make it into and if you're buying clothes online, do they have the seal? Where is the seal? You know, are they accredited? You know,
how's the BBB partnering with chambers of commerce today?
You know, we have most chambers in North Texas. We have shared. We have what is an exchange. So we provide accreditation to chambers, and in turn, they're listed as an accredited chamber in our market. The Greater North Texas Hispanic Chamber of Commerce is young. I just actually uh, applied and was accepted as an individual member.
Sure.
So I paid. I wanted to pay actually. That's another thing. I think if you really want to support a company, for me, it's you can't ask for it to be free. I don't believe in that. I want to support a company. You let me know what I need to do. So I'm a member of the Greater North Texas Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, and we are right now working on the chamber's accreditation. And so I've already have it approved. It's just in the works. So,
Very cool.
yeah.
So how does like the Hispanic community in particular deal with the BBB? So like, as an example, a few weeks ago we were talking to financial institutions about how to get your first business loan, and all of the various steps that they have to take. That really is more about knowledge. And the Hispanic community may or may not, because it's mostly self-funded businesses, it's family, homegrown, very much like your family business back in the day, right?
Right.
So how do they get it? So do you see a gap there in terms of opportunity for an educational, or is that?
Oh, of course, a huge gap. As a district manager, I'm the only district manager that speaks Spanish in my department. Unfortunately, I would say, in the Hispanic community, first generation in Mexico or outside of the U.S., they understand how to work hard, but they don't understand how to, how to protect themselves, how to grow their business the right way,
Right.
And a lot of times, unfortunately, and I've seen it in a lot of markets where they're the ones really taking advantage of the most by car dealerships, by, I can get into it's unfair because they're considered to be or not considered to be an uneducated buyer, but they're just not used to our market.
Correct.
They're not used to, because they're Hispanic, they have a higher interest rate because they don't have a valid driver's license or a collateral, and sometimes, yes, of course, maybe they deserve a high interest rate, but a lot of times, no, they don't. It's just it's just not. And so on the BBB.org, at the bottom of like the left side page, it's in English, but you can translate it, have it translated in Spanish.
Perfect.
So all the information could be done in Spanish. But I recommend anybody in the community stay current of what's going on in your neighborhood. Stay current to the trends. Stay current to what interest rates should be on a home or on a car. Stay current on those type of things. Yes, of course. We have a branch in Mexico City, and they have about 20%. They're probably about 80% less accredited companies that we have, but every day we always get reports once a month on how Mexico City's doing on educating the community on BBB. We also provide accreditation in Canada too, so we're in North America.
That's outstanding because it's difficult. I mean, again, it goes back to not only general market education, but I find it even twofold more or infinitely more for non-general market, your diverse markets, such as the Hispanic community,
right?
That I would say are becoming more acculturated, but still, it's not our culture.
Right. Well, in the Hispanic community, to me, it's always, if you work hard, that's all you have to do.
Correct.
Well, a lot of times, the business doesn't realize they're putting themselves into liability or jeopardy. I had a business owner, thank God he reached out to us, wanted to be accredited, Hispanic. It was a moving company. Well, he was told if he just rented these U-Haul trucks and he could move in and out of people's homes and move them throughout the state. Well, no. Unfortunately, to interstate or intrastate, you're required, if you are going into a home, not junk removal, okay? Junk removal, you don't need a lot. But if you're going into someone's home and you're removing property, you need a TxDOT license. This person's been doing business for 2 years, did not realize he needed a TxDOT license. What would happen if he got pulled over in this U-Haul truck and he was moving he's in major jeopardy,
Sure.
And so, yes, if whatever field you're going to get in, you definitely highly recommend just try to learn on your own and figure out, of course, mentor. A lot of times realize these larger businesses would love to mentor a smaller business, would love to. it's not competitive. Think about it, because that bigger business doesn't want all these little pop-up businesses ruining the marketplace.
Correct.
You know, changing the image of that particular industry.
Sure.
You know, I love, and in solar, I have on the top of my head 5 companies that are EPC certified. They carry the Master Electrical License, that do training seminars once a month for any company that wants to come in and get trained, and they offer that for free. Any solar company, you know, and I love that. And they, you know, of course they're accredited, but they're not doing that because it's required by the BBB. They're doing that because they want to protect their market.
Yeah.
You know,
of course. That is fantastic. You know, Michael, I appreciate your time.
Of
today.
course.
I mean, this
Thank
has
you.
been engaging. I learned so much. I'm like,
you.
okay, I need to get accredited here. This is fantastic, and just having this type of conversation. How can folks reach out to you in your particular branch?
Yes, so we have 2 branches. North Central Texas, our offices are downtown. We have another branch in Wichita Falls. You can reach me directly. I don't mind giving out my office line. My office line number is 214-740-0311. Whether you were interested in accreditation or just have a question about the industry you're in and need guidance, please give me a call. It doesn't, if you're not, you know, if this accreditation not for you, that's still fine. Reach out to me. If I can't help, I probably know somebody that can. All right?
Hey, I love it. Thank you so much.
Of course. Thank you, Trinidad.
And my name is Trinidad. I'm here with the Chamber of Charla, here with Michael, and I hope y'all got as much information as I did about the BBB.